everyone. Welcome to Dirty Water Weekend Live. I'm Brianna DeNucci.
I'm Samir Daouk.
And here's our 2 cents. So the Red Sox, they've been putting in some work in the offseason. They have this huge trade going on with Chris Sale. Samir, why don't you tell me a little bit more about it?
Absolutely. So some people would say that the Red Sox have recently mortgaged their future and rolled the dice going all in, trying to, try and be a competitive team for the next 3 to 5 years, the way that their team is currently constructed and the way that they have invested in Chris Sale. So Chris Sale is a hot pitching commodity. He's probably a top 5 pitcher in the American League. And the way that he's throwing compared with David Price and Rick Porcello at the top of that pitching rotation, it seems that the Red Sox are going to be a very competitive team going from the next 1 to 3 years.
Yeah, so it's kind of a risk. They said, you know what, let's not do the prospects, let's go for the sure thing. Let's go for someone who's already been in the league and try and build with him in our rotation.
Exactly. So essentially what they did here, Bree, was they took their farm system, their top prospect and arguably the top prospect in baseball in Yoan Moncada, as well as their top pitching prospect in Michael Kopech, and traded them plus 2 other prospects to the White Sox for Chris Sale, like I said, a top pitching prospect, or top pitcher rather, in the American League. So the Red Sox are essentially rolling the dice, going all in here, and trying to be a competitive team going forward, be an ALCS World Series contender, and essentially what we all here want in Boston, being a World Series title champion. So.
Right, and moving forward, we did lose David Ortiz to retirement. So how are we going to fill his shoes?
Absolutely. So what the Red Sox have done also during these winter meetings, Dave Dombrowski, or as people would call him nowadays, Dealer Dave, has been busy on the phones and on the computer running these deals through. What he has done recently is signed free agent first baseman Mitch Moreland from the Texas Rangers at around a $5.5 million contract for 1 year, which is great. It's going to have a lot of flexibility with the starting lineup.
Yes.
We're going to see Hanley Ramirez still play first base, as well as Mitch Moreland, who has won a Gold Glove at first base. And he's going to be someone who's going to be more often than not playing first, as well as Hanley Ramirez and potentially Brock Holt, seeing some of him there as well. But what this really allows the Red Sox to do is be fluid with their lineup. So you'll see guys like Pablo Sandoval and Dustin Pedroia getting some opportunities as a designated hitter, allowing these older veteran players to get some rest and concentrate on their offensive efforts.
Yeah, so it sounds like they have some more people to, mix around in the schedule and in the lineup to see who fits where. It's also questionable, right?
Absolutely. So what they recently did, strengthening their bullpen, they traded their starting first baseman this year, Travis Shaw, to the Milwaukee Brewers for hard-throwing right-hander Tyler Thornburg. He is going to be probably their 8th inning guy, especially since they recently lost Koji Uehara to the Chicago Cubs. So I see him being somebody who's going to take over that 8th inning role, that late inning pre-closer position in that bullpen. So at the end of the day, the Red Sox really haven't lost too much ground, especially in their bullpen, especially with the addition of Carson Smith coming back from the disabled list. So I like to think that they have made some improvements here, and I hope that they're going to be strong. But it looks to me that Pablo Sandoval is going to be their everyday starting third baseman outside of Brock Holt.
Good. Well, that sounds promising. Another promising team that we got going on for Boston are the Celtics. So let's talk about them and how they rank now. They are 3rd in the Eastern Conference, right behind the Cavs and the Raptors. So let's talk about how they're doing this season and how they can improve.
Absolutely. Obviously a big game tonight playing Toronto, a conference and division rival here.
Absolutely.
So that's going to have major implications going down the stretch. Potentially could be a tie break, but we'll see. That's getting ahead of ourselves.
Right.
But at the end of the day, this game and where the Celtics rank today is not indicative of what this team can be come April, come March, when the season is ending and when the playoffs are beginning. They are without Isaiah Thomas, their leading scorer, the leader of their team, and really the conductor of the engine and the person who gets that team going and bringing them in on the court day in and day out. He just got an injection yesterday. He's questionable day to day going forward. Hopefully he's back soon, but he's out tonight. So don't let tonight's game and the way that they play, leave a bad taste in your mouth if it doesn't go the way we hope it does.
Right, Isaiah is the heart of their team, that's no question. However, they did have a great, strong game. The first game he was out, Jaylen Brown stepped up. He's a rookie. He did a great job, phenomenal job in that game. Incredible dunk. Did you see it?
Absolutely, it was
Crazy.
beautiful. I mean,
One to remember.
Certainly, we've seen hints of Jaylen Brown and his athleticism coming forward. We saw it in that first game against Brooklyn where he had that almost dunk, and we've seen it a couple times before. I mean, he's an incredible, tremendous athlete, somebody the Celtics have really been lacking in that position, somebody who can get to the rim, explosive, dynamic, quick, and I think he really has the opportunity to be a dominant player going forward. He still is young, came out of college very early, coming from Cal, and we hope that he can continue to mature and progress the way we hope he can. But with Isaiah out of the lineup for the coming games, I think we're going to see how deep the Celtics really are, which is something that was portrayed to be their strong suit going into this season. We're going to see a lot more of Terry Rozier going forward. We're going to see a lot more of Marcus Smart going forward. We're going to see what they're really made of, whether they can turn it around or not. And at the end of the day, these are the type of games we want the Celtics playing in December rather than February or March, where we want the team to be complete and figured out all of everybody's roles and so forth.
Right, and it's always an excuse about we're rebuilding. That's what the Celtics keep saying. We really need a big three. We really need those key players to build around a franchise player, for instance. For example, Klay Thompson, he was a likely candidate to come to the Celtics, and he had a phenomenal game against the Spurs the other day. He had 60 points in 29 minutes. He's trying to say to the Golden State Warriors, hey, I'm still a member of this team. KD, Steph Curry, don't overshadow me quite yet. And, it made me think, hey, can we grab him from the Golden State Warriors, take him for next year?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, as big of a Celtics fan as you and myself are, we would obviously love to see Klay Thompson in Celtics green. However, I don't see that being likely this season. Unfortunately, the way that the Golden State Warriors are constructed, I find it very unlikely that he's going to end up with the Celtics by the end of this season. Going forward, that could potentially be a possibility, but at this point, where the Celtics are, the way the East is constructed, and the way the Cavaliers are built to be a winning, successful team going forward, I don't think that it's realistic for the Celtics to expect to get that player by the end of this season. As you had mentioned, they're in a rebuild, so any progress is better than none. I expect them to win their first round playoff series against whatever team it may be, and potentially lose to the Raptors or the Cavaliers, whether they meet one of those teams in the Eastern Conference semifinals or the conference finals. But at the end of the day, as much as you and I may love the Celtics, it's hard to say that we're going to see them in the finals this year.
I agree, and even though they don't have a franchise player and they don't have a big three that anyone really can point at and say, hey, that's a big player, they do have what it takes. They use their whole entire bench, their starting five. They can put teams together, but the thing that they seem to fall apart is the third quarter or the first quarter. They get behind in one quarter and then they try and play catch up, and it just seems to fall flat. So they need to learn how to close games, and they need to learn how to take their skills to the next level to be one of those teams that can get the ring.
Certainly, it's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde effect you have with this team, right? Where some games they come out shooting the lights out of the ball and getting the ball in the net, making great passes, making that extra pass that's needed to get that finish, and then they coming out of halftime and show up flat. Or it's vice versa, where they show up trying to play a team that may be a half a notch better than them, and they come up just short. And at the end of the day, Brad Stevens is doing a heck of a job coaching this team with all the pieces he has. However, at the end of the day, it comes down to the kind of playmakers you have. And quite frankly, the Celtics are just lacking that one extra playmaker. You want to talk about a big three, you look at some of the most successful teams in the NBA, whether it's San Antonio or Cleveland or Golden State. They have 3 to 4 players they can rely on day in and day out to score 20-plus points, to average 8-plus assists, to average 6-plus boards.
And the Celtics, Isaiah was our guy to go to, and now he's out.
He's day-to-day.
Now who's going to step up?
So, I mean, with this stretch of Isaiah being out, we can hopefully look for Marcus Smart to fill that starting role and be more of a facilitator rather than being that perimeter shooter. As you and I have both seen, Marcus Smart has struggled significantly trying to establish that perimeter shot. And quite frankly, I don't think his game is there yet. He is not a three-point shooter, and I think he needs to rely on his other playmakers on the team who can make that shot, who are more consistent from there. Somebody like a Kelly Olynyk, somebody like an Avery Bradley. Even when Al Horford gets out to the perimeter and creates that spacing between the five on the other team, to have that opportunity to shoot that three more openly than Marcus Smart creates. He is better when he drives to the basket and either gets his lane or he dishes the ball out to somebody who has a better opportunity to make that shot.
Yeah, they definitely have promise. They are holding that third-ranked spot in the Eastern, so we'll see if they can, hold on.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
See. So let's move on to the Bruins. They are also third in the Atlantic Division.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about Pasternak.
I mean, you can't say enough about Pasternak and what he's done at such a young age. He is quite a phenomenal talent. I haven't seen the Bruins have somebody with as much promise as him since they had Tyler Seguin on their roster.
Yes.
And it wouldn't surprise me if in 3-4 years, Pasternak is putting up numbers better than Seguin, especially in goal scoring. He just, quite frankly, has the poise to be a finisher. You've seen him in the shootouts, you've seen him in the overtime, you've seen him just on the power play. He is somebody who is very comfortable with the puck. He's very fluid on the ice. He knows how to skate. He's very comfortable skating around defenders. And he looks like the goal scorer the Bruins need at this point in their season.
But again, it can't just rely on one player. They are having a bit of a rough season where they are having 2-game losing streaks, 3-game losing streaks here and there. They need to be consistent if they want to be a top competitor in the postseason.
Absolutely. I mean, it would be ambitious to say that the Bruins are a Stanley Cup contending team at this point. I don't think anybody here in Boston or anybody who's watched the NHL closely this year would say the Bruins are going to be there when it's all said and done.
Right.
We can hope and we can cross our fingers, but they just don't have it compared to the league. When you look at what Tampa has, when you look at what New York has, when you look at what Pittsburgh has, the Bruins just don't have the firepower or the defensive line to be able to compete with some of these teams. But that doesn't mean they can't be competitive going down the stretch and make it into the playoffs. I think the last 2 seasons, what you see from this team is an underwhelming performance and just a loss of gas at the end of the season.
Yes.
And when you see the way Claude has been pushing these guys this year and what you've seen out of Pasternak and what you've seen out of the addition of Backus on this team and what Patrice Bergeron, though he's not putting up the numbers we're used to seeing, the way he's facilitating the game and the way he's getting guys open and he's controlling the puck on the ice, they have enough pieces to be in the mix at the end of the year. Are they going to be there when it's all said and done? More likely than not, probably not. But, we can be optimistic. A lot of teams have come out of those lower seeds, 6, 7, 8 spots, and made it into the Stanley Cup Finals, Conference Finals, so we can only hope.
Yeah. And now we saved the best for last. Tom Brady, greatest of all time, and now we can actually say he is the greatest of all time. He hit the 201 mark, most career wins as a quarterback.
I think
Unbelievable.
It's honestly a phenomenal accomplishment, and I think this milestone really pushes him over that argument. Is he in there with Elway, and is he in there with Marino, or is he in there with
He's better.
whoever you want to name? I really think this puts him over that threshold and really puts him at that number 1 seed in quarterback rankings of all time.
Well, when you look at it, he is number 1. The one that he surpassed was Peyton Manning, who just retired last year. Then it's John Elway, then it's Brett Favre. The only person that's even close, and by even close I mean about 50 games out, is Drew Brees. And there's no way he's going to catch him.
Certainly. I mean, when you look at quarterbacks currently in the league, Drew Brees is the closest to Tom Brady in terms of wins.
Yeah.
But when you really stack up what it means to be a winner, when you look at Super Bowl titles, when you look at playoff wins, when you look at regular season wins, there's not one player who holds those records over Tom Brady. When you look at amount of Super Bowls, it's him and it's Joe Montana. When you look at regular season wins, he is solely in first place now. When you look at playoff wins, he is solely in first place now. So this argument that you have, is it Brady or is it Elway? Is it Marino? I don't think the argument is to be had anymore. I think it's Brady and solely Brady.
He's the greatest of all time.
Absolutely.
So talking about the Patriots, let's talk about Gronk's injuries, talk about Amendola's injuries, talk about how injuries are affecting the game going forward for the New England Patriots.
Certainly, and I wouldn't say it's exclusive to the Patriots. Every team has their set of injuries. You look at the Seattle Seahawks, they've lost their Pro Bowl safety Earl Thomas. You look at Kansas City losing their Pro Bowl linebacker last night in the game against Oakland. So it's not exclusively the Patriots who are being suffered from injuries. However, going forward, are the injuries that the Patriots have sustained detrimental to them progressing to the Super Bowl? I don't think that's the case. At the end of the day, the Patriots roster, the way it's constructed, top to bottom, seems to be the best fit going forward in the AFC. The only competition I really see going forward would be the Oakland Raiders or the Denver Broncos, and Oakland has that spot over them. Even though Kansas City won last night, I do still feel that Oakland is the better team when it comes down to it. Derek Carr is a winner. He was injured last night. He had his finger in a sling. The weather was cold, and it was in Kansas City. So with those factors considering, that team going into that game had won 6 straight away games. And in the playoffs, I would be afraid to play that team even if I were the home team, including the Patriots. So I believe the AFC Championship game will be the Patriots versus the Raiders. And I really think it's going to be a shootout when it comes to it. There is no strong team on defense outside of the Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs that can really hold a team, true to their colors and make them beat them with their third option, their fourth option. But with this injury with Amendola, as you mentioned, and Gronk, as you mentioned, we'll really see what the Patriots are made of, out of players like Malcolm Mitchell, out of Martellus Bennett, stepping up, being that second tight end spot, going to the first spot, and being a primary target for Brady. So I think this next game against Baltimore, which has a strong defense, a quarterback who's won in the playoffs, and a team that's not intimidated by going to any stadium in the country, after that, on a short week to Denver, I think these next 2 weeks will really show us what we have with the Patriots and their roster.
Absolutely, and being without Gronk, it is a huge loss to the team, but I believe that we are not just a one-player team. I believe that everyone has a key factor into the game. We have Bennett stepping up, Mitchell stepping up, we have Hogan stepping up. Everybody doing their part. Even, Brady's a little bit injured, but we're still playing through it. We're going to play through the injuries. We're going to play through the setbacks. We're going to take on the Ravens on Monday at Gillette. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think that the Patriots are going to pull that one out. Denver at Denver is going to be a little bit trickier. I'm worried about that game just because taking them on at their home turf is a difficult task, but I do believe that we can pull it out.
Certainly. I mean, when you look at the Patriots' history and the way that they've played in Denver, it certainly opens up some demons in their past. However, I don't think that this Denver team, especially with their quarterback situation and the way that this team has struggled at times to move the ball on offense, is going to necessarily be the crutch for the Patriots. Their weakness is their defense. And if Denver's weakness is their offense, I think that we can somehow manage to win that game. I'm more concerned about this game coming up on Monday night against the Ravens, because they're a team with John Harbaugh, a great coach who has beaten the Patriots. Their record against each other is 2-2, so they in the playoffs. So they really are a team, and arguably the Patriots' best rival in the past few years here, that is not intimidated by what Brady and Belichick have to offer, and a team that knows how to win in Foxborough. And I really think that those games are going to come down to, whether you want to admit it or not, the special teams. Steven Gostkowski, the Patriots kicker, has struggled at times this year.
All kickers have been struggling.
Except for Baltimore's kicker, Justin Tucker, who's been almost automatic. And I really think that this game may come down to a field goal on Monday night, and I just hope it's us kicking it and not Baltimore.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to go back on that just for a moment, so Gronk being out, definitely a big factor. I was going to say that I think that our defense actually stepped it up last game. I know that it was only against the Rams, and the Rams isn't a great team, but 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, the defense really stepped it up. And I think that if we bring that same intensity, that same defense into the game against the Ravens, we'll definitely hold them.
Well, the polite answer is that that was a momentum-building game. You want to say that the Patriots took a lot from it and can hopefully move forward and continue to progress. However, when you look at what Los Angeles is as a team, their quarterback situation started Jared Goff in his 3rd game. The way that line has played, is quite frankly a JV team playing against varsity players.
True.
They
but
really aren't.
If that gives them the momentum to bring that into Baltimore, I'll take it.
I mean, we can only hope. We can only hope, Bree. But at the end of the day, Los Angeles' offense is not the kind of offense I'm comfortable saying the Patriots' defense took a step forward. All I can say is they changed their scheme. They seem to get to the quarterback more. They seem to switch up their blitzing, had some cornerback blitzes, had some safeties coming down on the line. So we can hope they can continue that aggression going forward, being aggressive on the line, mixing it up, confusing the way that the quarterback reads the defense of the Patriots. And ideally, we see that this week with Joe Flacco being confused, and next week with Trevor Siemian being confused for the Broncos.
All right, so.
Any parting thoughts before we sign off here?
No, you know what? We're just gonna see what happens on Monday against the Baltimore Ravens, and then we'll be with you next time.
Absolutely.
I'm Brianna DeNucci.
I'm Samir Daouk.
And that was our 2 cents. Thanks for tuning in for Dirty Water Weekend Live. See you next time.
Dirty Water has launched the all-new DirtyWaterMedia.com. DirtyWaterMedia.com combines the power of Boston's #1 nightlife and entertainment show, Dirty Water TV, and its sister publication, Dirty Water News. Add in Boston's all-new go-to sports destination, Dirty Water Sports, and you have the ultimate source for what's happening in New England. DirtyWaterMedia.com offers a dynamic team of writers and bloggers, keeping you informed up to the very minute. Log on to DirtyWaterMedia.com today.